A lot of different movies and TV shows have given us pop culture versions of Satan, also known as Beelzebub, Lucifer, Old Sparky, Old Scratch, Mephisto if you're into comic books, and many other names. Even if you're not particularly religious, the notion of Evil Personified can help us to reconcile the reality evil exists in the world at all. Plus, he sure does make a handy literary device. Satan has even taken on a surprising number of animated forms, and while we have covered his appearances in kid shows, in this video we're going to take it up a notch. So today, we're going over 10 appearances of Satan in adult cartoons.
The Blues Devil, Metalocalypse. In the first season of Metalocalypse episode Blues Clock, the boys in Death Clock come down with, well, a case of the blues. Or at least they are so diagnosed by famous bluesman Mashed Potato Johnson after he witnesses a rather lackluster concert performed by the band, in which Nathan just breathes heavily into the mic. The bluesman takes the band on a tour of essential bluesy locations, including the chicken coop where a man invented the blues while burying his murdered wife, a railway where a man was decapitated, and a spot where 22 men were murdered just for being ugly, before trying to teach them how to play the blues. This of course does not go particularly well, although Nathan claims to have it down after playing one note on a harmonica. But the old bluesmen insist that they inaugurate themselves as bluesmen as well, by selling their souls to the devil, of course. In this appearance, the Blues Devil looks appropriately metally yet gothic, and although he's more than willing to deal with the band, he apparently did not know who he was bargaining with. The band negotiates 7% of the Devil's soul in addition to blues talent in exchange for a $5 Hot Topic gift card. Pretty sweet deal. They then take their newfound talent and test run by playing a show that uninspiringly does not go very well either. At least, not for the fans.
Aldermach Magabone, Ugly Americans. The short-lived Comedy Central series Ugly Americans built an insanely detailed world, in spite of only airing 31 episodes. The show takes place in a version of New York City, where humans coexist with all kinds of monstrous, demonic, and other non-human creatures, employing a morbid and twisted sense of humor, and milking its premise for all manner of verbal and sight gags. In this world, of course, Big Red is bound to make an appearance. Unfortunately for our protagonist, mild-mannered social worker Mark Lilly, he just so happens to be his girlfriend's father. The alcoholic off-killer Magabone previously served as a prosecutor in Hell's courts, and was known as Skinny Bob, before ascending to the top of Hell's organizational structure. He runs a largely unsuccessful soul trading business, which is seen to be taking a bruising in the stock market due to some unwise soul acquisitions, and he hates Mark, wishing, as he does, that his daughter had instead gone together with the dashing demon Twain Bone Raper. I hope to God I'm saying that right. It's that kind of show, and there are many nice comic touches playing on the devil's supposedly evil nature, which oftentimes simply reveals itself as sheer incompetence. Our favorite of these, Magabone, is revealed to be a big fan of NFL football, and specifically the New York Jets.
The Devil and the Super Devil. Family Guy. God and Jesus make regular appearances in Family Guy's Quahog, with Jesus in particular having a full supporting role in multiple episodes. But the devil is seen only in cutaway gags, always portrayed rather stereotypically and never having anything to do with the main storyline. Until the season 5 episode, Boys Do Cry, in which Stewie is thought to be possessed after getting drunk on communion wine and throwing up in church. Peter disguises Stewie as a girl and hides out at a relative's house in Texas, and eventually the search for Stewie is called off. Lois finds out about this in a hilarious news broadcast that makes it clear that there are much bigger things than the devil to worry about, after last week's discovery of the Super Devil. Reporter Dallas Houston compares two photos side by side, one of the devil as he has always been portrayed in the show, and another of a rammed horn flaming motorcycle riding super devil who has some frightening advantages over the old devil.
Now, as you can see, there are some significant differences. The Super Devil is at least 6 inches taller. He has a flying motorcycle and a jar of marmalade that we believe forces you to commit adultery.
This one-off gag highlights Family Guy's tendency to poke fun at religious absurdities, and its frequent use of religious imagery to get a laugh should come as no surprise, as show creator Seth MacFarlane is an outspoken atheist. As for us, we hope that the devil and/or super devil are brought back for a main storyline. If nothing else, we think that Jesus still needs to be put in place for giving Peter back his surfing bird record.
Ronnie, Sealab 2021. Cartoon Network's Sealab 2021 was a unique blend of stock Hanna-Barbera animation footage from the 1960 series Sealab 2020 and original animation, and featured a gonzo storytelling style with flighty, borderline, unstable characters and little to no continuity. Entire locations may be destroyed or major characters killed off in horrible ways, only for the next episode to return to the status quo with no explanation. Its retro aesthetic combined with dark and unpredictable humor made it a hit, but among its 52 episodes, some never made it to air. One of these is available in a partially animated form on DVD. In it, main character Captain Hank Murphy encounters a mysterious man who claims they have met before, and is annoyed when Murphy can't remember. He then proceeds to tell their previous meeting via flashback. In a parody of the old Robert Johnson Crossroads legend, Murphy is seen at, yes, a crossroads, playing guitar when the mysterious stranger shows up, claiming to be the devil, and offering to make him a famous musician. Despite being distracted by the stranger's goat legs, Murphy considers the offer, before being shown all the possible outcomes of the many deals he might make, all of which seem to end with Murphy being crushed by a safe. The perpetually distracted Murphy happily accepts an offer of pumpkin pie from a passing stall in a Hitler, before wishing to rule Sealab. Back in the present, the devil reveals that he is there to claim Murphy's soul, as he got what he wished. But Murphy turns the tables, insisting that he never wished for that, it was the pie that he was agreeing to, and he never even got it. The devil produces it for him, but Murphy says he isn't really hungry. Pretty clever, but Murphy being Murphy, it all goes wrong anyway, when the dim-witted Stormy eats some of the pie, proclaims it's delicious, and offers him some. You can probably guess what happens next.
Sweet for Brack, Space Ghost Coast to Coast. Sealab 2021 was inspired by the hugely popular Space Ghost Coast to Coast, another show that combined old and new animation footage and also made use of live-action segments. It recast the 60s animated character Space Ghost as a talk show host, with his live-action guest appearing on a screen next to his desk, and featured an evil talking mantis named Zorak as his band leader. In the final episode of Season 7, Sweet for Brack, Space Ghost reveals through conversation with guest stars Tenacious D that he's a bit jealous of co-star Brack, who had recently, in real life, gotten his own Comedy Central spin-off called The Brack Show. Naturally, Satan shows up to help, only in this case, Satan is an 8-foot-tall Yogi Bear with a ridiculous-looking crown. Yogi, Satan, offers to get Space Ghost on a sitcom. Not The Brack Show, sorry, it's already cast, although it'll cost you dearly. No problem. Space Ghost agrees and ends up not on his own show, but Zorak's, the aptly named Blood Dumpster, in which Zorak simply jumps out of the dumpster and chases Space Ghost with a dozen or so whirling blades. Making a deal with the devil never pays. He's smarter than the average bear.
Lucy's dad, Lucy, the daughter of the devil. While only a featured player or a guest star in our other entries, it stands to reason that the big guy would be a main character on the Adult Swim series Lucy, the Daughter of the Devil. Although the crudely computer animated series only lasted a scant 11 episodes, it at least has a distinction of giving old Sparky the immediately familiar and innately comic voice of H. John Benjamin. The show gives us a 21-year-old spawn of Satan as an average college girl dating an indie DJ who happens to be the second coming of Christ. Her dad, more mischievous than malevolent in his Cosby-style dad sweater, has it in for the boyfriend, named JC of course, much like most dads do, though perhaps with a little more willingness to murder. At the time, Benjamin was known only as Coach McGurk in the animated sitcom Home Movies, which also aired on Adult Swim. He would later lend his unmistakable voice and unchanging delivery to the title characters of FX spy comedy Archer and the hit Fox sitcom Bob's Burgers.
Stinkmeaner Strikes Back, The Boondocks. Adapted from his comic strip, Aaron McGregor's long-running animated series The Boondocks, centered on the Freeman family, young brothers Huey and Riley and their grandpa, Robert, a black family moving into a mostly white community. The show's unique anime-influenced animation style and hilarious explorations of racial and cultural divides earned it 55 episodes over 4 seasons, and it was never short on shocking and sometimes controversial moments. In the season 4 episode Grandpa's Fight, Freeman family nemesis Colonel Stinkmeaner is accidentally killed during a street fight with Robert. The following episode, aired around Halloween, opens with the character enjoying himself in hell, talking shit to the devil himself, who is dully impressed with his utter contempt for everything. The devil, rendered in a manner quite a bit scarier than any other entry on this list, praises Stinkmeaner and allows him to return to Earth, to exact vengeance on the Freeman family and to spread ignorance and chaos in the black community by way of possessing other people. After some hijinks, fellow self-hating black man Uncle Ruckus is enlisted to expel the spirit. By bonding over their shared love of white people, Ruckus is able to exorcise Stinkmeaner and send him back to hell. Although the episode was not formally tagged as a Halloween episode, the timing of its airing and that freaky devil gave it away as one.
Bart gets hit by a car / the devil in Homer Simpson. The Simpsons. The Simpsons need no introduction. It should surprise no one that the Lord of Lies has appeared a couple times on the longest running animated show of all time, once as a throwaway gag, and once on one of the most beloved segments of the annual Halloween special, Treehouse of Horror. The season 2 episode Bart Gets Hit by a Car has Bart ascending to heaven after an accident, you can probably guess what kind, but then immediately screwing it all up by spitting over the side of an escalator railing, which is apparently enough to earn a ticket to the other place. In hell, a very typical looking Satan goes over Bart's record on his unholy computer, but finds that he isn't due there for almost another century. Bart is sent back into his body, followed by the devil's parting advice to be rebellious and listen to heavy metal music. The 4th Treehouse of Horror installment has Homer offering to sell his soul for a donut after finding them all eaten, only for the devil, in the form of a satanic Ned Flanders, appearing to happily oblige. Homer does find a loophole. As long as he doesn't finish the donut, the devil can't take his soul, but he's Homer Simpson, so you know how this goes.
Robot Devil, Futurama. Coincidentally enough, the first appearance of the Robot Devil in the brilliant Season 1 Futurama episode, Hell is at the Robots, was voiced by none other than Dan Castellaneta, the voice of Homer among many other Simpsons characters. In the episode, robots who sin against their religion of robotology are sent off to Robot Hell, a physical place presided over by the sinister robot devil, Beelzebub, and his golden fiddle. If you're not sure where they're going with that, you may want to quickly Google Charlie Daniels Band. When Bender ends up in Robot Hell, Leela and Fry invoke the Fairness in Hell Act of 2275 to challenge the robot devil to a contest for Bender's soul. A fiddle contest, of course, inspired by the Charlie Daniels classic, The Devil Went Down to Georgia. When they realize none of them are able to beat the devil in musical skill, Leela simply beats him with his own golden fiddle, and the trio make their daring escape. The episode was among the first to show off Futurama's musical chops. Robot Hell is introduced by an amazing musical number of the same name as Beelzebub shows Bender around. The Robot Devil would be featured in at least a dozen more episodes, as his classic first appearance made a lasting impression on fans.
Satan from South Park. Finally, no other animated show has mined the Dark Lord for more comedy than South Park. He first appears in Damien, only the 10th episode of the series, in a pay-per-view fight against Jesus, and has been a recurring character on the show ever since. He's mostly portrayed sympathetically, despite periodic attempts to take over the surface world, and has long been a target of abuse by his gay lover Saddam Hussein. This was first revealed in 1999's feature film South Park, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut, in which Satan, egged on by Saddam, attempts to provoke a war between US and Canada in order to spill the blood of innocents and enable his dark reign. It turns out to be shorter and a lot less dark than he expected, as Satan is shown to have a fundamentally good heart. Finally becoming fed up with Saddam's verbal abuse, Satan casts him back into hell with a little assistance from a powered-up Eric Cartman, whose malfunctioning V-chip causes him to shoot bolts of lightning whenever he swears, which is a lot. Satan then grants Kenny's wish to return everything to normal, and promises to come back to visit someday, a promise he has kept throughout the show's run. Given his effectiveness as a device which can be used to poke fun at our culture and morality in seemingly endless ways, it seems likely that South Park's Satan will continue to pop up for as long as the show is on the air, which frankly we hope is forever.
Certainly, an earthly visit from Satan preceded by footprints is not a new phenomenon. In one account from the 13th century, nobleman Rafe of Coggeshall described the night of the 19th of July, 1205. Following a violent electrical storm, a disturbing hoofprint appeared.